Have you ever taken a close look at the brain and wondered, why is it so wrinkly? What are all these bumps and grooves? Well, these wrinkles form the outermost layer of the brain called the cerebral cortex. But don't let its weird appearance fool you. This outer layer plays a critical role in some of the brain's most complex functions. So in this video, we're going to break down what the cerebral cortex does and how it's organized. No matter the direction or angle you look at the brain, whether it's a bird's eye view, looking straight down, we call that a dorsal view, or a side view or lateral view, the brain relatively looks the same. It's got folds after folds after folds, and of course, this is the outer layer called the cerebral cortex. But this begs the question, what are these wrinkles, right? What are these grooves and ridges within the brain? So before we get to the functions of the cerebral cortex, let's first understand, what are these wrinkles? What are the names of these wrinkles? What boundaries do they form? And most importantly, why is the brain wrinkled in the first place? So let's start with this. Let's imagine we take this dorsal, this kind of bird's eye view of the brain, and we zoom in on these folds. Okay, what would we see? Well, here we have a zoomed in version of our cortex. We see all these ridges and bumps, right? That would be kind of just like this. And we also have down here all those little valleys, okay? And there's actually names for these valleys and grooves. These bumps or ridges that form is what's called a gyri, okay? Or for plural, gyrus, okay? And we have all these bumps. We got all these bumps and big ridges right here, right? These are kind of the peaks of the brain, right? And what about the indentations, okay? Right, these kind of little low-hanging valleys. Well, these are going to be called, instead of gyri, these are sulci, okay? Or for plural, instead of gyrus, we have sulcus, okay? So we have sulci and gyri. Right here are the nice ridges here, okay? And here's a nice memory technique. If I said you're sulking, what would that mean? It means that you're sad, right? You're unhappy, you're sulking, right? Your body position's like this, right? You're sulking down below, right? So that's a nice way to think of sulcus as kind of the valleys or grooves within the brain, right? All right, so why does that matter? It's because these wrinkles, right, these sulci and gyri, form very specific foundations, boundaries, or divisions within the brain. Here are two of them. We have a lateral view. One of the most important ones is right here, called the lateral sulcus, okay? So lateral meaning side, and sulcus meaning what? Meaning a groove, right? Here's our lateral sulcus. And we'll talk about why that's a major division in a moment. We also have one up here that kind of goes from ear to ear across, called the central sulcus, okay? So we have the lateral sulcus, and we have the central sulcus, okay? And here we have, right here, there's our central sulcus, okay? So let's take a look at this model of the brain to identify a lot of these key parts. First, you see all these bumps right here? All these ridges, right? What do we call those? Those are gyri, right? And then you have all these little crevices in between those bumps, we're gonna call what? Sulci. Just imagine you're sulking, right? Other things we notice. Take a look at this huge sulcus on the side. What do we call this? Here, I'll angle it here. Our lateral sulcus, right? This huge groove within the brain. And then we also have, which is hard to make out, we have our central sulcus, which is going to go from ear to ear, right? It's going to go all the way across the brain right there. Now, even though I haven't labeled this, what divides both hemispheres together, this huge groove, this is called the longitudinal fissure. Okay, so we have our sulci and our gyri, we have our lateral sulcus and our central sulcus and our longitudinal fissure. And if I go back to the brain, I can almost identify the central sulcus going from hemisphere to hemisphere. It would look something like this, okay? All right, before we get to the major functions and lobes of the brain, let's just first understand kind of how the cortex looks. I want you to think of an orange, right? You notice how there's a peel around an orange? Well, that's a nice analogy to think of the cerebral cortex. It is made up of different material, and of course it does different things, than the actual part of the brain, the meat part of the brain, called the cerebrum. So imagine that this is your brain, right? Your cortex sits on top of your brain. Now, these are two terms you might have heard before. We often call the cerebral cortex something called gray matter, okay? Gray matter, let's write that in together. So what is it called? The cortex is gray matter. What do we call the rest of the part of the brain, right, inside the cerebrum? Well, this would be called white matter, okay? So you've ever heard the expression, we have white matter and we have gray matter, which is inside the cerebrum. And to understand gray versus white matter, we have to understand a neuron, okay? And there are three basic parts of a neuron. Do we know those three basic parts? We're gonna talk about the dendrites, those little receivers of the message, our soma, our cell body, and the axon, which sends the impulse away, okay? So what's white matter? Well, around the axon on some neurons, you have this fatty white substance, okay? And this black little squares is going to represent this fatty white substance, okay? Do we know what that's called? It's called myelin, okay? What does it do? It makes the signal go pew, really fast, okay? The signal goes extra fast throughout the neuron, okay? Which means this is not a normal neuron. We're going to call this a myelinated, what do we call it? A myelinated neuron, okay? And why is that important? Well, the myelin is what creates the white matter. In other words, this is considered a fatty white substance, so it gives the cerebrum that type of color. And that's important because it's about speed and efficiency, right? You have white matter in your spinal cord because you want information to go really fast to the brain. You have white matter, myelin within the cerebrum to get information really quickly to the cortex, okay? So what is then a gray matter? Well, gray matter, it's the same axon, but there is no myelin. So what do we call that? Instead of myelinated, this is unmyelinated, okay? Unmyelinated, okay? So we have myelinated axons and unmyelinated axons. And instead of made up of myelin, the gray matter is basically made up of mostly dendrites, cell bodies, which is the soma, okay? And that's what gives it its gray matter. So it's not about speed and efficiency, it's about processing, right? It's integrating information, it's taking in information and trying to understand what's happening. What does that smell? What does that sound? What does this taste? Right, we have speed and then we have processing, okay? There's a nice way to see it. All right, important question. Why is the brain wrinkled in the first place? Let me get my sheet of paper. All right, so take a look at this sheet of paper, right? It's really big, it takes up a lot of space. But how can I avoid that? Look what I'm doing. I'm folding it in on itself, okay? I'm folding in on itself and it's taking up less space. Are we starting to think about why the brain is wrinkled? The brain has a lot of surface area, right? And the question is, how can I fit more brain matter, more brain surface area in the brain? I can wrinkle it, I can fold it, and therefore I can fit more material up here, right? And we can even make out the folds, right? We have the top, right? Those would be our gyri, and the ridges, we have our sulci. So the reason the brain is wrinkled is that we want to increase surface area, increase synaptic connections, more neurons, and we can fit it in a nice small space. So let's return to these two divisions in the brain. Remember, we have our lateral sulcus right on the side and our central sulcus which goes across. Why is that important? It's because it deals with a lot of divisions in the brain that we call lobes. In other words, we can divide the brain into different sections and those sulci help us make those divisions that of course we call lobes. So let's color code this. Let's make sure we know what the regions or lobes are and we'll go over those functions as well. So let's start with blue. Our blue is what we're going to label as the frontal lobe. What do we call it? The frontal lobe. And how can we remember that? Well, it sits in the front of the brain. Okay? We'll get to its function in a moment. In red right here, we have our, by the way, I'll label right here, we have our parietal lobe. Okay? Our parietal lobe. Okay? And the parietal lobe sits right on top of the head. Imagine a bunch of piranhas biting you. We'll explain how that helps us in a moment. In green, right here's my parietal lobe sits on top. Right on the side of the head, we have our temporal lobe. Okay, our temporal lobe. How can we remember that? It sits by our temples. We'll think about another memory technique as well. And then lastly, in the back of the brain, what do we call that? That is our occipital lobe. Okay, so the cortex can be divided into 4 lobes. And what do we have? We have our lateral sulcus, which divides the temporal and frontal. Right, it's a major division, and our central sulcus divide the frontal and parietal. So the wrinkles do matter, they provide division. So what do these actually do, these lobes? Well, they do a lot, but we're going to break a few things down. The frontal lobe deals with everything from planning, okay, to things like decision making. Okay, this is what makes us so intelligent, and even things like motor function, helping me move. Okay, and we'll get to that in a moment. Okay, parietal lobe sits on top. This is going to be processing. What does it help us process? Incoming sensory information. Process sensory information, right? So if I feel something cold or hot, something's rubbing against my skin, or I feel some sort of pain, that's going to be registered where? In my parietal lobe. So think piranha biting me, pain, nice connection. We have our temporal lobe, sits right on the side. What is this going to help us with? Everything from hearing, okay, process things from our ears and language, okay, We can hear mostly on the left side of our brain, and even things like emotions and memory. Okay, and we'll get more into that in a moment. All right, and lastly, occipital lobe sits where? The back of the brain. And that deals with one thing only, vision, okay? Information from my eyes go through the thalamus and they end up in my occipital lobe where things are registered and I can see colors and movement, emotions, I can identify objects. So why are these divisions important? They help me divide the brain into what? 4 major lobes. All right, lastly, there are 3 major functions of the cerebral cortex. In other words, I could take these lobes and there's certain functions that occur on this wrinkled layer that we can divide into 3 parts: sensory areas, motor areas, and association areas. Let's start with sensory areas. This deals with our 5 senses. What are those? We can hear, we can smell, we can taste, we can touch, right? We can see all of our sensory information. So as information goes up the nervous system to the brain, the cortex is going to do something with it. Let's start with our first one. Right here in purple, what do we have? This is labeled, okay, right behind our what sulcus? Our central sulcus. You will find what is called the primary somatosensory, somatosensory, what do we call it? Cortex. Okay, I'll just write a C. Our primary somatosensory cortex. This is going to integrate all the sense information from our skin, our body, right? Hot, cold, wet, dry, and pain. That is our primary somatosensory cortex. We also have vision, right? Information goes to our eyes, and it goes to our occipital lobe. Specifically, where? Our primary visual cortex. Right? This is going to help me see and process information from my eyes, right? Colors and shapes and motion, all that good stuff. We also have, right here, on the temporal lobe, right? Tempo, think music. We have our primary auditory cortex. Right? And what do you think of when you hear the word auditory? Do you think of sound? So do I. Because this is where information from our ears goes to, and we can register things like pitch and volume and rhythm and just comprehension of speech. All right, lastly, it's hard to see on this diagram, but it also, the cortex, is going to register things from our nose, our primary olfactory cortex. Okay? And let's actually get the brain model to help see this part. Right, notice that I have green right there. Why is that? It's because the olfactory system can be found underneath, right, or inferior to the brain. So we turn the brain around, what do we see? My olfactory bulb, right? That's going to take information from my nose. It's going to help me smell, detect odors, right? Those odor molecules. And that's where I'm going to find my primary olfactory cortex to register information and understand what I'm smelling. Something burning, is perfume. Do I like the smell? Do I not like the smell? Right underneath the brain. All right, in addition to sensory areas, we also have motor areas. What do you think about the word motor? We want to think movement, okay? So instead of our primary somatosensory cortex, right in front of our central sulcus, instead of behind, we have a very important structure called the primary, notice I'm using the word primary a lot, primary motor cortex. Primary motor cortex, okay? So instead of taking information in our sensory afferent neurons, we are going away, afferent motor neurons are going away. So we have all this information going away from my motor cortex, down my spinal cord, to my muscles, my glands, helping me move my body, right? All of this is my primary motor cortex. All right, so lastly, we have association areas. What is this? This is any area of my cortex, my wrinkled outer layer, that is not involved in primary sensory or primary motor areas, right? So there's a lot of cortex that doesn't deal with just receiving sense information or sending information out to my muscles. A lot of it deals with complex cognitive functions, right? Thinking and decision-making, problem-solving, all that stuff. And the reason it's called association areas is because we bring in all that sensory information in, and we can connect it or associate it to other different brain regions, right? We can connect and make associations between different regions. So what would be an example of an association area? Well, one of them would be right in the front of the brain. First of all, do you remember what lobe this is? That would be our frontal lobe. And sitting in front of our frontal lobe is a really important area called the prefrontal what? Prefrontal cortex, okay? What is this area? This is the CEO of the brain. It's executive functions, decision-making and planning, controlling my impulses so I don't do bad things. It's gonna make sure that I make the right decision at the right moment. This is our prefrontal cortex. And in terms of associations, it might associate or connect to other regions, like maybe my limbic system, right? Which is emotions, right? Should I eat that cake? Should I not eat that cake? I'm on a diet, but the chocolate looks good, right? So we're gonna make associations and connections to other regions. We also have associations in our parietal association areas. So for example, in this region of the parietal lobe, this helps us deal with spatial awareness. Okay? So in other words, nothing to do with, movements and smell and hearing, but it's about where my body is in space. I'm not falling over. I know how far away I am from the camera. I can, reach here. I know how to shoot a basketball or how to catch a ball. I know how far away to stand. So it's my awareness of my body in space. So remember, association areas are all about associating. So maybe we're making a connection to my cerebellum, which is balance, right? Maybe I'm talking to this brain region. These are considered association areas. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you learned something. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe. Please leave a comment below. Don't forget to use your cortex. I'll see you next time.